This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Riley Smith.
Good day and welcome to Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Today is Thursday, May 18th, 2023. We're so glad you could join us for today's show. In today's episode, I talk with Iowa Congresswoman Ashley Hinson about the recent Supreme Court ruling on Prop 12 and her reaction to that, as well as new legislation that Congress is hoping to pass to counteract some of the consequences from that in the EATS Act. We also have a check of that ag weather outlook, but first, let's run down the markets.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
We're at the end of another trading day in the ag marketplace, and for a bit of analysis, we go to Jacob Burks of agmarket.net. Now, first off, Jacob, I know it's not been a great picture recently, but how are those grains looking today?
Well, there is a lot of red, but we do find a few spots of green on that screen. So, pretty active day in the grain markets here today. I saw the export sales come out, very negative for corn, beans, wheat, sorghum, rice. A lot of poor exports coming across this old crop year. Some sales out there for next year, but right now we are seeing the result in the front months of the corn, soybeans being down pretty negative. Here we're down 7 cents in the July corn. But we did see a move up in the new crop corn in December. We actually going to close above $5 here, right at $5. A couple of significant things. It felt to me like we saw one of those days where we kind of washed everything out. And early on, we had some selling, and that usually tells you, hey, the margin calls of some of these bigger funds or some of these positions just had to be met or liquidated. And so we saw a lot of liquidation, I believe, at the beginning of this trading session, and we recovered. Corn or beans actually went positive at one point today. So, there's a lot of volatility at the edges, at the highs and the lows, and so today was a pretty volatile day.
Well, and with those export sales, we've been expecting with that downward trend for lower numbers anyways. Now, are we still undercutting those expectations from the USDA?
I think so. I haven't done the math yet as far as the trajectory that we're on, but I'll be honest, I'm expecting to be surprised one day the other direction. And I think the CF is going to have to do that. We're going to have to see the cash market fall apart to get those exports. And right now, we're still in the wrong path. And now we see some more cancellations. I think that it feels like the China could be canceling more in the future as well. So yes, I do think that the USDA possibly could have to cut some more exports out of this thing, or we have to get cheap enough to get some more sales on the books.
And when we see those cuts, that'll likely be in the June WASDE report, right?
It'll likely be. I don't know that they'll be that aggressive to do it. It might be something that we finagle things around. It's really, really hard to tell, like how they'll react. It seems to be in the past, we've always talked about how slow the USDA was to move. And here in the last couple of, reports, like in this last year, we've seen the reports kind of surprise us how aggressive they were, whether it's with acres and yields or whether it's demand cuts or something of that sort. So, yes, you'll likely see that coming in. The next time we'll see it will be in that June report and possibly kick it down to July, too. So.
And then we've also got reports that, these corn and soybean crops are looking pretty good for this year and that we might have some near record levels. How's that going to interact with if we continue to see these lower prices?
Well, both corn and beans, and you look at new crop start that we have. The planting progress obviously is ahead of pace for both, but we also got some really good rains on top of those bushels those acres that were planted down south. So you're pretty aggressive. We're seeing trend line yields published 181.5, 52. But man, we've also got a pretty good start to it. And we look at what the drying period that's happened in the north too. So you got a lot of guys up north in the northern part of the belts in the Dakotas that are pounding some grains in right now, and it's just some pretty good conditions. So heat, we need to see the heat stay consistent. I don't know. Here I had to put a coat on to come in this morning to work. So we need to see that to help with the just overall, quick start to this crop. But man, right now it looks like it's well on its way to reaching those goals of the trendline yields.
And then moving on to the livestock markets, what did we see going on there today?
Ah, man, when you want to see green, just flip over to the feeder cattle. We set, made new contract highs. Feeder cattle, we were up $3.35 in that August contract, so we're above 234.5. You've seen a kind of a weird trade in the cash market right now. Packers are expecting to see some of this cash movement down, kind of following that box beef, but it just hasn't yet this week. So I think that from here on out, we watch the cash market and see if that does tends to follow what goes on in the box beef. I just feel like right now that going into that cattle on feed report, it feels like the market's kind of stimulating itself to see a disappointing report. Again here on the cattle on feed on Friday. So hogs, we struggled early in the hogs. We beat them up, quite a bit yesterday. Struggled early this morning, but we actually saw a little bit of a reversal in the front months and ended up closing 40 higher in the June contract.
Lots of great information today, Jacob. For those of our listeners and our viewers who'd like to get in touch and learn more from the folks at agmarket.net, how can they do that?
Take a look at us on the website. Just sign up for our 30-day free trial of our intel, or you can give us a call here at 608-384-5438.
Thanks again for the analysis today, Jacob, and we look forward to hearing from you again soon.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Y'all have a good day.
That again was Jacob Burks of agmarket.net. We'll go ahead and take a look at how those numbers close. That's courtesy of the folks at Bar Chart. July corn is down 6 1/4 at 555 1/4. December new crop up 1 3/4 at 500 3/4. July soybeans down 3 3/4 at 1333 1/4. November new crop down 1/2 cent at 1187 even. July soybean meal down 11.20 at 414.10. July soybean oil up 88 cents at 47.29. Chicago wheat down 13 3/4 at 611 3/4. Minneapolis spring wheat down 31 1/4 at 828 1/2. Kansas City hard red wheat down 28 1/2 at 857 even. July oats down 5 1/4 at 337 3/4. On the Merc, June live cattle up 70 at 165.52. May feeders up 155 at 206.10. June lean hogs up 42 at 85.30. June pork cutout down 20 at 88.90. Class 3 milk down 34 cents at 15.98. And that's been a check of the markets here on Ag Matters PM. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. When we come back, I talk with Iowa Congresswoman Ashley Hinson. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Last week, the Supreme Court rejected the lawsuit from the National Pork Producers Council and the American Farm Bureau Federation that sought to invalidate Prop 12, which would provide, more specifically, breeding space for breeding sows. Now, of course, as representatives of the nation's top pork-producing state, Iowa lawmakers were disappointed in the ruling as it opens up some very big issues for interstate commerce. I talked with Iowa Congresswoman Ashley Hinson about some measures that she's hoping to take against Prop 12, especially with the EATS Act. Well, we are here with Iowa Congresswoman Ashley Hinson to talk a bit about the Supreme Court's ruling on the Prop 12 case. Of course, last week on Thursday, Supreme Court rejected the lawsuit from NPPC and the American Farm Bureau challenging that ruling from Prop 12. So, Congresswoman, just tell us a little bit on that decision and what the initial reaction was.
Yeah, well, Riley, thanks for having me on to discuss this. I think this is an absolutely crucial issue for Iowa agriculture and for our economy. Prop 12, I think, is a bacon ban by a different name. It seeks to regulate how our Iowa farmers are producing their pork, bacon, eggs. So I've been saying this since the very beginning when they passed Prop 12, don't California or Iowa. And so I was incredibly disappointed to see that the Supreme Court ruled the way they did. I do think this is an interstate commerce issue. But one thing that they did include in that ruling was that Congress needed to act, right? That was very, very clear that Congress had not passed anything yet in this space. And so that's where my legislation that I introduced last Congress and am reintroducing here very shortly, the EATS Act, will help remedy that, right? It's that cause of action to protect interstate commerce so that Iowa pig farmers can take care of their animals, their environment, their communities. Liberal Californians don't know the first thing about raising pigs or farming. So that would be my answer. Legislatively back is to support the EATS Act, and I'm working on already getting co-sponsors for this time around.
Right, we saw that, and when I talked with IPPA's Trish Cook, she mentioned that, you pass this through California voters. A lot of them probably don't know about the pork industry, and a lot of them you can't fault for that. But to try to pass it through that way was really kind of a backhanded way to get that legislation through.
Absolutely. And I think what I would say to everyone who's concerned about the price of the food that they're putting on their plate, these liberals in California don't take that into account, that Iowa pig farmers are the best caretakers of their animals. I have been to facilities all along the lines, right, from the growing, from the birthing, all the way up to the processing side, right? And I have seen the care that our farmers take for their animals, right? And food does not grow at the grocery store. Food grows with our producers. And that's one thing that I think on the consumer side, we need to do more education about. So that's something I'm going to be doing concurrently with, obviously, my legislation. But I think we need to be clear here as we're struggling with inflation and continuing to put these kinds of barriers up to our producers. It will only drive those costs up, whether you're in California or in Iowa. So that's why I'm taking such a stand here to make sure we're standing up for our producers and also for their ability to not be regulated by one state.
And let's dive into that EATS Act, that legislation that you mentioned. What exactly is included in that?
Yeah. Well, basically what it does is it creates the cause of action, right? It basically it circumvents what Prop 12 does. It's unconstitutional overregulation that threatens every aspect of our food supply chain. So consistent with the Commerce Clause of the Constitution, it would prevent states from being able to impede agricultural trade from other states within the U.S. And it's basically that simple. So California, when they're moving to ban ag products grown in other states, I see that as being an attack on individual consumers and hardworking farmers. And so it simply prohibits state and local governments from interfering with the production or manufacture of agricultural products in other states.
Yeah, that regulating, interstate commerce was really a thing that, just initially for most of us, we're thinking, oh, it's probably going to be dead on arrival because they can't do that. And then it went through. So that was kind of a surprising thing to learn about that case, especially.
Well, and unfortunately, what we've seen is California trying to dictate, not just in the agri-space, but in the manufacturing space. They've tried to instill Green New Deal priorities through these kinds of regulations on the manufacturing industry. And that, again, drives costs up, and it makes it inefficient for people, maybe in Iowa, for instance, making refrigerators or washers and dryers, right? If they're having to abide by the standards set by one state, they have to change their entire production line for the entire country. Otherwise, it's not profitable for them. So this is really at the heart of the issue of challenging one state's ability to completely change the entire country and how we do business. And I think that that's what the EATS Act is trying to counter on the agriculture side, but we have more work to do across the board to make sure that liberals in California are not dictating interstate commerce around the country.
Yeah, we saw a lot of reactions from several animal rights groups that right away they said it was a blow against factory farming. When in reality, we know that it's the small-scale farmers that are going to see the biggest consequences from this.
Right. Because the big guys can maybe use some of their resources to make the changes necessary to be able to sell in California, but the small guys are just going to go out of business, or they'll be gobbled up by the big guys, so to speak, right, and make them even bigger. So I think that this is counter to what those groups may have actually wanted out of this. And again, I would invite all of them to have a conversation with our farmers, our pork producers in Iowa about how they do their business. The bacon ban here is not the answer. The answer is community conversations about the caretaking of animals. And that's what our farmers are doing every single day. So I know, again, I've seen it. I've peeled back the curtain on that process. And I think that they're very misguided if they think that the world will be fed with these standards, because it's counterproductive.
Right, and you mentioned that you've been working on legislation for a while and been at the forefront of the advocacy for this. What's the timeline for the EATS Act? What's up next for it?
So we had introduced it obviously before the Supreme Court decision. So all we're doing right now is going through kind of the legislative traps on it. We're working through that language, and hopefully with just some technical fixes, we should be able to introduce it within the next couple of weeks.
All right, great. Is there anything else today that our listeners and viewers should know about, whether it's Prop 12 in Congress or just further legislation efforts?
Well, I would say this, that we are obviously deep in the throes of our appropriations process. So we are actually going to be having our markups on our subcommittees for Ag FDA, for example, for our appropriations for our bill there. So look for that to be coming out very soon in that process to start moving forward. We're hopeful that we'll have that moving through committee. Obviously, the debt limit is kind of still under discussion and what goes along with that. But once that process is played out, we'll know more about what our targets will look like, and we'll be able to get those bills through committee as well.
And of course, for anyone who wants to get in touch and maybe just make their voices heard on these policy issues, how can they do that?
Yeah, we would love to hear your stories. If you're a pork producer in Iowa and this policy, Prop 12, would hurt you and cost you in doing your business, we want to hear from you. Hinson.house.gov is our website. There's a form where you can contact our office. I would encourage you to reach out with your stories about what this will do to you so that I can actually share those stories here on the Hill and work across the aisle to get this bill passed.
Iowa Congresswoman Ashley Hinson, our guest today. Thanks for taking the time to visit with us.
Thanks for having me, Riley.
That again was Iowa Congresswoman Ashley Hinson. As for right now, let's go ahead and take a look at that ag weather outlook. The weather was cooperating for quite a bit earlier this week. It provided a nice window to finish up planting season, or at least get a good chunk of that closer to completion. Now, if you look in the skies right now, we've got a little bit of haziness, and that, of course, is from the Canadian wildfires. Some of that still blowing over the state, and that should persist for a little while yet. Now, looking into the next couple of days, we do have chances for isolated showers and other storms, but otherwise, it's just going to continue to be some nice spring weather. So let's take a look at what the National Weather Service has in store for the next 24 hours. As you can see from the National Weather Service, we have a little bit more rain in the forecast. Otherwise, it is still looking to be very nice. Today, we have mostly to partly cloudy skies with slight chances for isolated storms or showers, highs ranging from the low 70s to low 80s. Tonight, there's a widespread chance for thunderstorms, and some areas may see smoky skies from Canadian wildfires, lows ranging from the upper 40s to upper 80s. And tomorrow will be mostly sunny with showers likely in the east, those highs ranging from the low 60s to low 70s. And taking a look at the affiliate weather map for tomorrow, Cherokee will be mostly sunny with a high of 61. Shenandoah mostly sunny, a chance for that Canadian smoke and a high of 71. Des Moines mostly sunny and 67. Waterloo mostly sunny and 65. Albia mostly sunny with a chance for isolated showers and a high of 69. And Clinton will see showers likely throughout the day, a high of 69 as well. For more detailed forecasts in your part of the state, make sure to check in with your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate. That's been a check of the Ag Weather Outlook, and that also brings us to the end of this episode of Ag Matters PM. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. You can also follow us on social media at Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and LinkedIn. And you can find all of our video content as well as previous episodes of AMPM on our YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell to see when those videos go live. Don't forget as well our free Twice Daily Market podcast on Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the IARN studios in Des Moines, I'm Riley Smith. On behalf of Mark Magnuson and Dustin Huffman, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.